Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chantal Cox. I'm an author, speaker, transformation neurocoach, and a certified life purpose coach.
And I'm Gwen White, a quantum human design specialist and positive intelligence coach.
Together, Gwen and I are on a mission to dramatically transform and create community in the coaching industry by supporting you in saying no to all of those complicated cookie cutter strategies that just lead to burnout and aren't in alignment with you. And instead, we support you in saying yes to simplification with a focus on alignment, service, and impact.
Absolutely. And with our combined experience and areas of expertise, we are here to help you create that aligned momentum in all areas of your life, your business, personal life, and beyond.
Create a whole life you love. Yes. Want to take a moment and give a big shout out to Maria JD12 in the United States, who left a beautiful review on Apple Podcasts saying, amazingly valuable podcast. I am so glad I found this podcast. It has so much positivity and brings amazing guests on. You never leave without great tips. Inspiring.
Oh, so glad you enjoy the tips. Thank you, Maria JD12. And before we kick off our episode today, a quick mention of our sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership, which is an active community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are up-leveling in the most powerful ways to increase their knowledge, their momentum, and their impact. So for more information and to apply, we invite you to check out createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership.
Yes. All right. We're so super excited to be here today with publisher, author, and speaker Maria Dismondy. Maria is the founder of Cardinal Rule Press, a children's publishing company that produces diverse picture books for classrooms and families worldwide. Welcome, Maria. We're so delighted to have you on the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction, too. I feel special.
Yes.
Oh,
So I have a funny question that popped in my mind as I was reading the review. Do you happen to be Maria JD12?
I am not.
I was like, oh man, I didn't even put those two things together. Okay, good.
No, love it. Kudos for Maria and Maria, our guest. How did that happen? What an alignment indeed. Synchronicities all over the place.
There.
Very cool. Maria, I would love, of course, we always love to find out how our guests are creating the life that they love. So please tell us a little bit about your path to becoming the speaker, author, publisher that you are.
Oh, I love these questions, and I love the purpose that you stand for. As a little girl, I always wanted to be a teacher. I was always playing school. There was a time where I wanted to work at Taco Bell as well, but I went to college and I became a teacher. So I taught elementary school for 11 or 12 years. And around 2007, I was looking for a book. I probably wasn't looking on Amazon or Google. I think at the time I was probably at the library, but I was looking for a book to read to my students about self-esteem. And I really wanted a student character, a child character. I didn't want it to be teddy bears or dinosaurs, and I couldn't find the book. So I decided to write a book, and that book became published, thank you, in 2009 or 2009, I believe. And I just kept writing ever since. So I resigned from teaching because I realized we were starting our family, and I realized that I could continue to make an income writing and speaking, and I could spend time with my children and live a life I loved by, building this business at home with my kids. And then maybe 10 years into the writing industry, I realized that I wanted to give that gift to others. And so I started to publish. And so I now operate a traditional publishing company, Cardinal Rule Press, where individuals submit their manuscripts to us and we publish for them.
That is so
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And I love how you started. Again, I think so many people miss the whole idea of like, there's something missing. Maybe I could fill this gap. And you totally did that. You followed your heart and it led you to this amazing place. It's so incredible. Ah, I love it.
Thank you. Yes. And it's very interesting because at the time it really took, we were in a tough place. The economy here in Michigan was really bad, and my husband was in mortgages. And so it took a lot of him believing in me that I could make this, leap of faith and going home and building this business and being at home with our children. So it definitely took someone to believe in me too.
Nice.
so
Nice. It's so important. So important.
Yes. So I too am an educator, and I still am in education, and I just love that. Yeah, you're filling that gap because it is so needed. And we talked with the previous podcast guest a couple weeks ago that we didn't get raised with some of these self-esteem things and any of that. And so I love that there are authors like you that are equipping teachers and parents with the tools to bring that to their kids. It's incredibly powerful. The other thing I was thinking as you were saying that is, I graduated with my undergrad in 07. And so, 07, 08 was not a great time, like for anyone. That was when everything like crashed, but there's been a couple, but that was definitely not a great time. So a lot of courage for you to step out and do this right during when everyone else was kind of in crisis.
Yeah. And everyone else was in crisis. This happened, and a couple life experiences happened, and I just became more and more passionate about the fact that, as my friends started to have families and they started to come to me with parenting questions because I studied child development, I was in the classroom, I really started to realize, not all adults know about parenting and about child development. Like, I was given this gift through school, and so I thought, gosh, people are too busy to pick up a parenting book and read it. I mean, you know what happens when you're raising young children and at nighttime, you're going to fall asleep with the book. So I thought, gosh, what is it that we do with our children on a day in, day out basis that could help connect with some of these important topics? And so that's where I really thought, gosh, books are like this bridge between the caregiver and the child, and they're sharing this story, and the child is learning, and it's such a natural part of childhood and growing up that what if we had books that had really important topics that the children could be entertained, but then they could also learn examples of empathy and learn examples of kindness. Because right now, our world needs a whole lot of empathy and kindness. And, I get really sad listening to the news and hearing of all these new developments and school shootings, et cetera, et cetera. And I just keep going back to what is it I'm doing on a day in, day out basis within my home and within the work I do that can help. And sometimes it doesn't feel like enough, but sorry, I went off kind of at a tangent.
I love it. I think that's a big part of why I feel called to support coaches. Is I see coaches as being a huge part of the healing that the world needs. And so anything that we can do to support and empower people out there making an impact and being part of the empathy, part of the kindness, part of the healing that needs to happen is just, everybody needs all the support we can get, and we've all got to come together and do what we can do. I love it. So I myself am a self-published author, and a lot of our audience is coaches, online entrepreneurs that really want to make that impact. And everything. And so some feel called to do that through writing books. And like we both are, Gwen is working on one, and several of our membership members, like it's just a very common thing. And so can you talk about the different publishing paths and how a writer would know which is the right path for them?
Yes, I love this question. So there are many different paths. And, starting out when I wrote Spaghetti in a Hot Dog Bun, which is on the shelf back here in Korean, simplified Chinese, actually. It was self-published, but back in the day, they called it a vanity press. So it was with a publisher, but I had to pay to publish. And that's, again, where it took a lot of courage, and it was financially strapping our family. But I wanted that message to get out into the world. It was super important to me. I believed that I could make that money back. I believed I could do something with it. And I think for, like you said, a lot of your membership and coaches, having that tool, right? So they have, a role, a service, they're a service provider, but then having a product that they can say, okay, you can learn more here, is really important. So self-publishing in that respect makes a lot of sense, because you have a community, you already have an audience. So self-publishing 10, 15 years ago was frowned upon. And now I say, if you have the financial ability to do it, which it's so much more cost effective today than it was 10 years ago, I say do it. Get your message into the world. There are wonderful, beautiful self-published books out there, and that whole stigma has gone away. Another route is hybrid. So let's say you're coaching, but you just don't have time to figure out the whole process. You could take a hybrid approach, which you would then, which kind of sounds a lot like what I did, back in 2007, but a publisher who is already established is going to charge you fees to go through the process, but you're still, publishing that book. And so it's going to be a little bit easier, the hybrid model. And then last, but certainly not least, is the traditional route. And that's when you find a publisher who's going to take a financial investment on your project, and they're going to take care of all of the fees, all of the marketing, all of the sales, and you receive a small amount of royalties. And so that is the business model that we are running at Cardinal Rule Press. And, I guess people, I don't know if you really want to know why, but I think from a business perspective, that was easier for me to manage than hybrid or self-publishing. So that's kind of why I went that route. But so I guess if you look at it, there's 3 different stages, and then there's also 3 different financial scenarios through those 3 stages as well.
Awesome. And your publishing company, Cardinal Rule Press, do you only focus on children's lit, or do you have a...
Yes. So we still focus on children's realistic fiction. So I still, I haven't let go of the fact that I want children to be in picture books. But we did explore nonfiction. So we had a parenting book come out in nonfiction. So we're exploring that avenue as well.
Amazing. And I know many coaches in our audience are feeling called to, work with the kids and work with the parents. So writing a children's book might be right up their alley. So everyone that is in that realm, reach out to Maria.
Absolutely. Please do. Please do. We are always looking for good stories that represent today's child.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, I'm learning so much. I wasn't even aware of this hybrid model. I just thought it was self-publishing or traditional. So it's really interesting to see this sort of middle ground that kind of saves time and also is a little bit of a hand holding, but at the same time, you still maintain some control. And that seems like a great model to kind of, explore if it's the right one. But again, there are so many options, and it's really interesting to hear them all laid out in that way. I can clearly already sort of see the pros and cons. Shifting gears a bit, in your experience as a publisher, Maria, what do you really think are the most important elements of a successful book? Now, again, I know you're speaking from your specific area, so please do. but how can aspiring authors ensure that their work is going to resonate with their readers?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question because I'm currently speaking at a conference in Las Vegas from my home, so I'm between sessions, and that was what I spoke about. We talked about the importance of your why. So, why is it that you're writing? What is at the heart of what you're doing? And when you operate from that heart and when you operate from that passion, you're going to see success come through because there's authenticity in what you're saying. It's very organic and natural. And so that's really what I do with authors is I say, okay, yes, you are writing, you know, let's say psychological thrillers. Can we go back and let's explore why? Oh, you want to entertain. You want to create entertainment for, adults. You want to create mystery and problem solving and suspense. Let's go deeper into that. So I think it's important to really understand the why. And that is also why I believe coaches, I think too, this is a really great idea for them because they're already building up that audience. Influencers on social media. If you're on social media, you have a following there. People know, like, and trust you. They want to hear what you have to say. So the second answer, not just the why and the heart of the matter, to your question, is really the know, like, and trust factor, is that authenticity. So connecting with your readers, I think that's one of the things that makes people successful in writing is doing it, but also connecting with your audience, because I have some writers who want to do it just as a hobby. And that's not a good fit for our company because we want you connecting with the audience. We want you giving more from your heart, not just, this is fun, I want to get a book on the shelf. So
I love that.
Interesting. I'm so curious about this whole notion of the audience. These days, you can't really necessarily just release a book and all of a sudden you build an audience. It seems, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm hearing that it's important to have your kind of audience, your following built or building before you really go into this idea of publishing a book.
Bingo.
Whether you go self or, traditional, whatever the route you take.
You've got
it is audience first and then book.
You've got it. And what I call that, and it's, you can look it up in the dictionary, it's out there. I call that creating your digital footprint. So before your book actually comes out, you can be on podcasts, you can be on other people's blog posts, you can be writing your own blog around the content that you are going to be releasing in your book. You can be building this digital footprint, which I don't want you thinking about the footprints when you're walking down the beach and the waves wash those footprints away. I'm talking about cement. They are solid. They're basically in the ground. It's going to take some work to get those footprints out, like a big machine or something, because you're creating this image. You're creating this environment or this bubble of you and your community online. And I absolutely think you can do that before your book comes out. I think you should do that. Because it will help with sales, and not that you're doing it to sell books, but that can ultimately be a benefit.
Absolutely. I mean, again, every author wants their book read. So yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good to have an audience already ready.
Great questions.
Yes. Something we've been sharing with our members that are working on self-publishing their books is building that launch team as they're kind of building. And one way is like documenting their journey. And so like sharing like, oh my gosh, I just completed my first draft, or, oh, look at my mind map. Like here I am typing, like, but like sharing the journey in whatever way feels authentic to them and kind of building that audience. And then, I love the digital footprint. That's even more, substantial. And I love your beach versus cement. It's so amazing. I thank you so much for being here with us in between sessions of your amazing speaking career going on. And so I know that's yet another way that people feel called to help make their impact and spread their message. So like, what would be your advice for people that want to get into that? How do you prepare for your talks? All those fun little things.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, before the pandemic, that was 60% of my income was coming from speaking. And I was speaking at schools because I'm very comfortable in front of a child audience, because that was kind of what I knew for so long. And I built programs centered around writing, centered around my book, centered around my expertise, per se. So those of you listening, what is your expertise and who can you speak to about that expertise? And how can you bring in income from that expertise? And now with Zoom, you can speak all over the world. This conference was supposed to be in Las Vegas, but their attendance didn't hit what they wanted to, so they put it online. Sad for me, I didn't get to go to Las Vegas, but the positive is, they could save money in that area, and you can connect with a larger audience when people aren't traveling. So right now, speaking is a really great idea because that accessibility is there. How do I build my talks? Well, I always start with an outline, and the outline comes to me at the most inconvenient times. If I'm showering or I'm walking the dogs, basically I don't have anything to write the outline down. And then I start, I usually use Keynote on my computer. I start with the outline and then I fill it in from there. I use a ton of visuals because people like that kind of stuff. I incorporate video. I try to get people up and moving around at least once during the talk, and a little bit of self-reflection too. So as you can see, I'm very passionate about speaking, and I like speaking to kids more than adults, but here we are today and it's not so bad.
I definitely want to be at one of your talks because it sounds really fun. I mean, yeah, when I give a presentation, I'm always just like, here's the deck, here's the thing. I don't even think about all of the things that you're doing. And I'm like, oh God, I'm really missing the boat here.
Well, you might next time. See, there's always room for growth.
Exactly. You're giving me great inspiration. And speaking of inspiration, we talked a little bit about why, knowing your why. But I wonder if there are other tips, advice, thoughts for people who are listening, who may be struggling to find their own voice and pursuing their passions. How else can they stay motivated and focused on pursuing this goal of either becoming, the speaker or the published author?
Wow,
That's
a doozy of a question. And for that one, I have to go to Google, because I can't remember. I'm going to Google right now and I'm going to share with you. I just went to a TED Talk, and there is something called Iki. Here it is. Okay. It's yes. Do you know Ikigai?
Yes.
Ikigai.
A couple things, I can't explain it right now, but
okay. So that's why I Googled it. But yes. So I thought of a girlfriend of mine, and she lives in our neighborhood, and every now and then she'll say, oh, I don't know what my next phase in life's going to be, because she took time off of teaching to raise her family. And so when I heard the presentation at TEDx, I thought, oh my goodness, this is for her. So Ikigai are these, if you think of a Venn diagram, it's actually a Japanese word, and it stands for passion that gives value and joy to life. So if you think of it, it is, and you can Google this, but there's different sections. So what do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? And so kind of thinking about, your question was, what if people how can they stay motivated? Start brainstorming those questions. Go throughout your day. What do you love? I love walking my dogs in the morning. I love the quiet. I love the nature. I love the breeze. What does the world need, right? You talked about coaching and the support that coaches need. What could you be paid for? What are you good at? I am not good at all things. And that was something that I learned early on in my business. I overpaid someone and had to ask for money back. I am not good at that. I should not be doing accounting for my business. So I don't anymore. I also made the mistake of hiring my husband to do my accounting, and I learned quickly that that probably wasn't the best thing. So I would recommend to listeners to Google Ikigai and spend some time filling out those circles and just really thinking about what satisfies you and what brings you joy in those areas.
Love
That's
it.
great advice, actually. I love that. And I love a good Venn diagram or Ikigai or, yeah, any kind of grid, a system. I'm all about a system. So I love this.
Yeah. And sticky notes. You could do it with sticky notes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You can rule the world with sticky notes.
You really could.
Sticky notes and duct tape. I got this. Oh man. So Maria, you have so many different moving parts of your life, and we work with people to create a whole life that they love, the business, the life, the relationships, the health, the just how you wake up in the morning and the impact, just the whole package. And so do you have any tips to help other people that are maybe like, how does she do it all? Like, do you have any specific routines or habits that help you or
Well, when you started asking the question, I was thinking of all the ways I don't do it. And then I was like, that's not what she's asking.
take it where it goes? Like
I
whatever
think
comes
there's
along.
definitely, there's seasons, right? There's different seasons in our lives. And I think probably my greatest advice is every season comes to an end. So, if you're stuck, like last year was a harder year for me for work. And when you're stuck in a season, there's always going to be another one. So, but I do enjoy the routine of waking up before my family. I have a cup of coffee and we have 2 dogs and they sit with me. Some days I journal, some days I just sit there in silence. And I also like the routine of a shutdown at the end of the day. So you can see I work from home. So I shut my computer down. I make my list for the next day and that's it. I walk out of the office. I love my job. And so it's hard for me because I want to work. I love my family, leaps and bounds more than my work, but I like my work a lot. So if the kids are all busy doing something, I want to work. I want to come up and do research and read manuscripts. And, so I try to shut it down and have a difference between home and work, which can be challenging because I do love my job. So that routine's really helped to shut it down. Not sleep. Your computer's not going to sleep. It is shutting down.
Yes, when we work from home, it's work-life integration as opposed to work-life balance so much these days. And I love how you're doing that. It sounds like you've really figured out what works for you.
For
Beautiful.
now.
But exactly. For this season anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has just been so much fun connecting with you. And yeah, I just feel very blessed that you took time out of your very busy day to come and chat with us and serve our audience. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And again, just what you're doing and creating this community for individuals is so important.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maria, you have been an integral piece today in helping us spread this message and amplify the create a life you love idea and concept. So we are so honored to have had you on today as our podcast guest.
Thank you so much.
And I know other people are just going to fall in love with your positive energy and want to connect with you and follow you. And so where are some of the best ways for them to do that?
Well, they can email me because I check all of my emails, maria@cardinalrulepress.com if you have any questions. And then Maria Dismondy Books. I'm on Instagram sometimes, maybe once every couple of weeks. I'm over there. So, but those are kind of the 2 places I check. I'm in my 40s, so I still check email. Don't DM me, email, please.
I love it.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you so much again, Maria, for joining us. I know our listeners have really been so inspired and motivated and expanded by what you've shared. And speaking of listeners, we want to ask them what their takeaways are for today. We would also ask that they share this episode with someone that they think would benefit from it. And I know there are lots of people that would benefit from this episode. And we would also ask that you leave a podcast review at ratethispodcast.com/CALYL. We deeply appreciate it. You can quickly and easily leave a podcast review from any device. So grab the link in the show notes and share the love.
Yes. And if our approach is resonating with you and you too would like to be part of the Create a Life You Love movement and help create community and dramatically transform the coaching industry, we are currently accepting applications for the Create a Life You Love membership. Just head on over to createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. And we will be sure to have that link and any other link that was mentioned today in the show notes. So thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And it's just been a delight. So everyone enjoy the journey.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.